had always trusted my wife, Lara. From the day we met, I believed in her honesty, in the love she professed, and in the life we were building together. For years, I never questioned her loyalty. We laughed, traveled, celebrated milestones, and shared the ordinary moments that make up a life together. But behind closed doors, her choices were quietly unraveling everything I believed in. The first hint that something was wrong came not through suspicion, but through an unexpected diagnosis. I had gone for a routine checkup, feeling healthy and secure, when the doctor's words hit me like a hammer. I had contracted an STD. My mind raced. I hadn't been unfaithful, so the only possibility was that it came from her. The disbelief, shock, and anger surged in waves. I confronted her quietly at first, asking for explanations, for honesty, for some way to reconcile the facts with the woman I thought I knew. Lara's face was calm, almost too calm. There was a moment of hesitation, and then a confession spilled out, not reluctantly, not ashamedly, but casually, as if she were recounting something mundane. She had been seeing multiple people behind my back for months. Her affairs had started small, then escalated, each encounter carefully concealed, each lie layered over the next. The life I thought we shared was a facade, and the disease I carried was the most concrete proof of her betrayals. The anger and hurt were unbearable. I felt violated, humiliated, and powerless. Every memory of our time together became tainted by doubt. The intimacy I had shared with her, the trust I had given freely, was now inseparably linked to deception. I struggled to process the enormity of it all, to understand how someone I loved could disregard the consequences of her actions so completely. Divorce became inevitable. We tried mediation, conversations filled with restraint and civility, but the underlying damage was irreparable. Trust, once shattered, cannot be easily reconstructed. The papers were signed, the home divided, and the life we had built together ended with quiet finality. But the story didn't end there. While the emotional wounds were raw, I soon realized that Lara herself had begun to pay a price. Word got out, subtly at first, through mutual acquaintances and shared circles. The secrecy she had relied on unraveled, revealing the truth of her choices. The men she had been involved with had moved on, leaving her isolated. Professional opportunities she had taken for granted were affected by whispers and reputation damage. The life she thought she could manipulate with charm and deception began to crumble. Meanwhile, I focused on recovery physically, emotionally, and psychologically. The diagnosis had forced me to confront my own vulnerability, to reevaluate my health, and to recognize the importance of boundaries and trust. Therapy helped me process the betrayal, rebuild self-esteem, and reclaim control over my life. I learned that survival after deception requires patience, self-respect, and a willingness to acknowledge the pain without letting it define you. Over time, I noticed a strange sense of vindication, not through revenge, not through public shaming, but through the natural consequences of her actions. Lara's recklessness had left a trail, and the world she had sought to manipulate turned against her subtly but inexorably. Whereas I had regained stability, she faced the fallout of her choices. From damaged relationships to professional setbacks, the divorce, though painful, became a turning point that revealed who truly bore the consequences of betrayal. I met someone new months later, not as a replacement, not as a rebound, but as a partner who valued honesty, respect, and mutual care. The contrast between that relationship and the one I had left behind was stark. Trust was no longer fragile or assumed. It was built consciously, maintained carefully, and appreciated fully. Each day reminded me that my past experiences, however painful, had prepared me to recognize and cherish genuine love. Reflecting on the journey, I realized the profound lesson embedded in the heartbreak. Actions have consequences, often beyond the immediate moment. Lara's decisions had caused me harm, yes, but they had also revealed the resilience and strength I had to reclaim. Her biggest losses, reputation, relationships, and personal stability came not from my retaliation, but from the natural unfolding of truth and accountability. The experience reshaped my understanding of relationships. Trust is sacred, and when it is violated, the repercussions extend far beyond the immediate betrayal. Honesty, integrity, and respect cannot be substituted with charm or secrecy without eventual cost. The world has a way of balancing actions with consequences, often in ways more profound and lasting than one might imagine. Physically, I recovered fully, taking precautions and prioritizing health. Emotionally, I regained confidence, learning to establish boundaries and recognize red flags early. Psychologically, I learned that control over one's life is possible even after devastating deception. Betrayal, while painful, can catalyze growth, awareness, and a renewed sense of self-worth. In hindsight, the divorce was not just an ending, but a liberation. It removed me from a toxic situation, protected my well-being, and allowed the truth to reveal itself naturally. Lara's actions, once hidden, were laid bare by circumstance and consequence. And while I did not revel in her misfortune, I observed the irony. Her greatest losses came not from confrontation or revenge, but from the very behaviors that had seemed insignificant or inconsequential to her at the time. Today, my life is healthier, happier, and more grounded. I have learned to prioritize trust, to communicate openly, and to respect my own boundaries. The betrayal I suffered could have destroyed me, but instead, it became a catalyst for growth, clarity, and a renewed commitment to integrity in all relationships. Lara's story, in contrast, serves as a cautionary tale. The choices we make, especially those that harm others, have ripple effects that are impossible to fully control. The deceit, risk, and selfishness that she embraced seemed advantageous in the moment, but ultimately they led to isolation, loss, and regret. Her greatest lessons came not from confrontation, but from the consequences she had ignored. In the end, the disease was more than a physical manifestation. It was a symbol of the hidden costs of betrayal. The divorce was more than a legal process. It was the clearing away of a toxic chapter, allowing truth to emerge and resilience to grow. And the aftermath revealed a fundamental truth. While deception may provide temporary satisfaction, integrity and respect build enduring strength, relationships, and personal peace. I often reflect on that period, not with bitterness, but with gratitude for the clarity it forced into my life. I survived betrayal, reclaimed my agency, and discovered that true empowerment comes not from vengeance, but from living authentically, setting boundaries, and trusting in the natural balance of actions and consequences. Lara's biggest loss came after our divorce, as it inevitably would, a consequence of choices made without regard for others. And my greatest gain was not revenge, but the restoration of self-respect, the cultivation of genuine relationships, and the knowledge that honesty, care, and integrity endure far beyond the fleeting satisfaction of deceit.